Hey guys, it's Kugel again with another video, and this time I've got a review on the OnePlus 3, so stay tuned for that. So guys, I have already mentioned that I was looking for a new phone as my daily driver in my I'm Back update, and right now it's hard to beat the value of the OnePlus 3. So I have gone ahead and bought the OnePlus 3. Now it's a feature-packed phone which is really all what you need and more for almost half the price of its competition. So that is why OnePlus 3 was my choice. Let's get started with the outside. Now what you get with the OnePlus 3 is a full aluminum unibody design, which I guess takes inspiration from a lot of other flagships, most notably the HTC One series. So you can see all that antenna lines and all that, which was kind of available in the OnePlus in the HTC One design, which was really awesome. I mean, I'm not complaining that it is taking design cues from other phones, because HTC had a very nice phone at the time, so that is really cool. Still, it would have been nice to see a bit of a difference in this phone, because it is it is a different phone than the HTC. So yeah, at the back there is the camera bump, which I would have liked to have had a different approach, because camera bumps, I really don't like camera bumps, because that kind of feels like you are trying too much to make the phone too thin and the camera just can't fit in there, so you had a bump there. So yeah, and I kind of agree with what MKBHD said about phones with camera bump, praising OnePlus 2 actually, that the companies could fill out the entire case with battery and eliminate the camera bump, so we get more of the battery life and the customers will love you for it. So that's something which I feel is right and should have been that way. But anyhow, this is what we have, and I guess that is what we get. Now, even with the camera bump, the phone is extremely thin. It's like 7.4 mm thick, so that means it's really thin compared to my previous Z3. That is a very thin phone. Because this is so thin, it kind of does slip around a lot, coupled with the aluminum construction of the phone. It really does feel a lot insecure in your hand. So I personally will be having a D-brand skin on top of it, or just, well, it's not probably going to be a D-brand's, probably going to be my personal skin, just so that I can have a bit more grip here, because this is really slippery. But this is premium material, so that is something which I really appreciate. Now let's get to the construction front of the phone. Now the front of the phone mainly houses the 5.5-inch AMOLED display, which is a sight to behold, honestly, and this is an amazing display for what it is. But again, this is a 1080p display rather than a 1440p display, which is available on other flagships. But honestly, 1080p versus 1440p, I personally cannot see a difference unless I'm using VR, and I don't use VR that much, and I don't feel like I'll be using it too much. But yeah, for people who want VR, you can go ahead and go for another phone, because this probably isn't for you. And also, the QHD plans on other phone like the Galaxy S7 is a QHD with AMOLED, and this is an AMOLED display, but still I personally find the colors a bit more washed out. I'm not entirely sure why that is. Now beneath the display is what I think I've missed most in my Z3. That is the capacitive buttons, which are amazing. I mean, I really like the capacitive buttons. I've been using that on my S3 for a long time, and this one really makes a comeback. I really appreciate the capacitive buttons. Now it does have back, recent, and the home button, which are, well, the standard 3-button layout. But the thing about the OnePlus 3 is that you can actually switch these around. So if you're coming from Samsung, you probably want a back button here, and well, if you're coming from a different manufacturer than the standard ones, you may want a back button here. You can switch it up in the interface. So that is the power of the OS, that is Oxygen OS. More about that later though. I want to talk about the fingerprint scanner. Now the fingerprint scanner is a really amazing one. I mean, I've yet to have that miss my fingerprint. I've actually registered my 4 fingers and 2 on this hand also, and it hasn't missed my fingerprints on this phone while starting or stopping. So that is amazing for me. It is kind of similar to what I would expect from Apple's Touch ID. It's as fast, or if not more. So that is something which I really appreciate. So on top of the screen you have the usual speaker grill, which is, well, the usual speaker grill. Also you have the proximity sensor, the front facing camera, which is an 8 megapixel camera, so you do have that, and a notification LED there, which you can customize in the OS to show notifications for different, I mean, that is a full colored LED light, so you can have that. Now on the sides you have well, the usual bevy of buttons. Now on the right side you have the SIM card tray, which is this one. Pretty nice. You do need a tool to remove the SIM card. This is a dual SIM card phone, and it's a kind of a letdown that it doesn't have a micro SD card slot. Rather, it has 2 SIM card slots. Like in the other phone, I forget the name, there was a phone which had 2 dual SIM card, or you can swap 1 SIM card to have another micro SD card slot. So that would have been a very good thing, for at least for me. So yeah. Now beneath that there is a power button, so that is pretty nice, and it's quite approachable in the normal usage position, so that's pretty nice to have. So that is it in the button section. On the right hand side bottom you do have the headphone jack. That is a standard headphone jack, 3.5 mm. You do have the microphone port, which well, is the microphone. You have the USB 2.0 type C connector, which is reversible, which I'm not entirely sure why people were so crazy about the reversible port. Like, it's the biggest problem smartphones have ever had, is that their USB connection, micro USB connection was not reversible. But hey, it's there now, so you can calm your asses. So yeah, it also has the speaker grill on this side, so this is the bottom firing speaker, but still quite a decent one, so I would appreciate that. I really appreciate that. And on the left hand side you have the volume rocker. Now this is something which I had a problem with, because the volume rocker and the power button are on the opposite sides. This can cause a lot of problems, because when you take phone out of your hand, I normally hold my phone like this. Right now I am able to do that, but when I'm in a hurry I kind of press both the buttons. So I'm not entirely sure why the placement was like this. I would have liked to have the placement somewhere else, at least a bit down, or maybe even like in the S3, in the Z3, where it was below the power button. You know, that would have worked right. Now in the OnePlus series you do have a alert slider, which is kind of becoming a staple on the OnePlus design philosophy, so I really like that. This one has 3 positions, 2 positions, which well, 3 positions. The bottom one shows all notifications are on, all the sounds will be coming up. Middle one shows that it is on priority notification, so the stuff which is on priority will be there, and the top one is silent, so your phone will be silent for all the time you will need for that. So pretty nice to have. And on top now there is a whole lot of nothing, because there's nothing on the top. Even the headphone jack is on the bottom, so yeah, you do have that. On the back, now on the back there is the huge camera, which has the big ugly camera bump, and below that is the flash. Now if you look closely here, there is the secondary microphone which can be used for noise cancelling. I'm not entirely sure if you can see that, but it is there. Pretty nice to have. Then there is the OnePlus logo, which I'm pretty happy to see that this is engraved into the metal rather than just a sticker or a plaque which is stuck on there. So that's what I really appreciate about the OnePlus series of phones. I mean, they are keeping up their promise of having a very great build quality with their phone. So that is something really appreciated. I really like that. And there is the I guess the panty line of antennas, which I do appreciate, because I am actually getting better signal where I am than my Z3, so that is really cool to have. I mean, I have to say that the device does feel premium with real meticulous care taken to craft this thing of beauty. Of all the components used are of high quality, like the camera lens. The fingerprint sensor home button is of ceramic because it doesn't really scratch at all, and I've seen a few videos where they try to take it out and stuff like that. It does survive huge punishment. The camera lens also is hardened tempered glass, so it won't scratch easily. Even though there is a bump, you will keep the phone like this, it is difficult to scratch, so that is something which I really appreciate. These are the areas where phones try and cut corners to keep the price low, but I'm really happy to say that OnePlus did not do that, so it really does feel premium in the hand. Now let's get to the specs of the phone. Now this one houses a Snapdragon 820, which is the latest and greatest from Snapdragon stables, with the graphic processor Adreno 530, which is really awesome. It really just zips around the UI with such ease that it really feels like butter. I mean, really. The 1080p screen also helps a lot in the performance department because it doesn't really have to push a lot like in the other flagships where it has to put 1440p, so it is really cool. And this is supported by 6 gigs of RAM. Yeah, that's right, 6 gigabytes of RAM. I mean, most laptops in this price segment doesn't have 6 gigs of RAM. That's 4 gigs normally. So this is a very useful thing to have in a phone. I mean, okay, I personally have managed to cross only 4.5 gigs, then that too was with great difficulty because I was running 2 games in the background, and well, I had to do a few finagling with the phone. I had to give it an XDA treatment because the inbuilt RAM management is pretty aggressive. It doesn't really allow you to have a lot of applications open. It has a very aggressive low memory killer feature in there, so I had to do a few finagling with that. And I hear that the latest Oxygen OS update is going to fix the RAM management issue, so that's something which I'm looking forward to. So moving on, the camera. Now camera is a very important part of a smartphone. So the rear camera here is a 16 megapixel f2.0 aperture affair, which is a pretty decent pictures even in low light conditions. I mean, I'm not going to compare it with something like the S7, which has an f1.7, I guess, so that's going to be a better low light performer than this one. But hey, this is a phone camera, and I expect it to perform like a phone's camera. Camera does have a lot of extra features in this phone. Now, first thing which I wanted to note to you guys is that the auto HDR is always on in default, so you can actually disable that and get a bit more speed. But honestly, even with HDR on, it takes lightning fast photos, so it focuses lightning fast, and that is really amazing for a phone which costs only this much. So that is really cool. Now for those who wants to tinker with stuff, there is a full-on manual mode which you can be selected here, which is, well, not as full-fledged as on phones which you would find on something like the LG G4 or G5, but it does get you the job done. You can select the focus mode, you can have it auto or whatever. This is the aperture, this is the shutter speed. You can control the shutter speed and do stuff there, so you can increase the shutter speed or decrease it to whatever you want. So that is really nice to have some amazing photographs. This is the contrast and brightness. You can get that. This is the white balance, so you can actually have that. Also, you can select the ISO rating, so you can change up to 3200, which is the highest you can get with this phones. Also, the video mode is pretty amazing. I have taken a few videos and I will be showing you guys how it turns out. So yeah, pretty nice to have. So guys, this is a video sample taken from the OnePlus 3 because just wanted to show you guys how good of a video this does take. There is also an option to take photographs, that is full 16 megapixel photographs while you are taking the video, so which is not a new feature, but still it's really welcome to have. Now this does have optical image stabilization, so that is really amazing, and I really do appreciate that to a lot of extent. Now I'm increasing the aperture, increasing the exposure. I can also decrease the exposure to have a more darker screen, so, and I've set it to 0. Now you can see the colors are really vibrant, and that is partly because of the sensor, which is a Sony sensor, which is a really good sensor. Well, the only thing is that the Sony sensor is only good on other phones other than Sony, because their uh, in-house app or software is just crap. Now this one is really simplistic. It does only have a few options there, but it is really awesome. I really like that. So as you can see, pretty nice. You can also get a feel of how the microphone will work, because I'm not going to edit it in any way, so you can see how good that is. So pretty nice. Yeah, there's the sky. You can see it is kind of blown out, but when you focus there, you do get a quite small bit of detail in the clouds there, but it is a cloudy day, so yeah, I can't do too much about that. So yeah, it also has a slow motion mode, which I really like. Unfortunately, my cat is nowhere to be seen to take few photos of him or her in slow motion, because that would have been sick. I will try to get a few of them, but probably won't be getting them. It definitely takes a better photo in auto mode than my Z3 in auto, so that's something which I really appreciate. The front camera is a 8 megapixel selfie camera, which is also decent. I wouldn't take the 4 megapixel 8 megapixel selfie camera and use it to make a documentary. That's not what it's meant for, so yeah, that really works. Now the cameras, again, it's not the best, but it's pretty close to the best. And hey, the best is it costs like twice this phone, so yeah, it's still an achievement for there. And I do agree with what OnePlus says, that it is pretty hard to take a bad photo with this phone, and I really agree that. The rest everything is what you expect from a flagship killer, like Bluetooth 4.0 4.2, sorry, the wireless AC, NFC, which was a glaring omission in the OnePlus 2, dual SIM and no explosion slot. That's what I've already talked about, which is, in my opinion, is still an awesome thing to have, but OnePlus philosophy differs about the S3 card. It does have a 64 gigs of internal storage, which will be out of which almost 50 to 52 gigs is what you will be using, and that's good for a while. But hey, again, more storage is always better, and this is the only version which will have it, so yeah. Now on the software side, it does ship with the Android 6.0.1 Marshmallow with the OnePlus's Oxygen OS, which is pretty decent. I mean, I really like that, because Android purists will love that. That's mainly because they don't really stray far away from the Google's philosophy of having a clean interface. I mean, there are a few helpful tweaks here, which is really cool. As you can see, the night mode is amazing. I really like the night mode, and there are customization options like dark mode, which I've already enabled. This, and the accent color, you can control the accents, and that's pretty cool. LED notification, you can select the LED notifications for all the apps, or the per app basis, so that is really nice to have, rather than having a third-party application do that. And status bar, you can actually select what all stuff appears in here, so that is really nice to have. You can actually reassign long press action and double tap action for each of the buttons. Like right now, I have long press action for the last application which I had there. Home button long press action is the Google On Tap, which is standard default stuff. Double tap, yeah, I've kept it to turn off the screen, which is pretty nice to have. I really like that. On the recent button, double tap can be set to anything else you want. I normally want to keep it as open shelf, because shelf is a really good application. Now let's talk about the battery life. Now the OnePlus 3 has a 3000 milliamp battery inbuilt, so it's non-removable as you would expect, and that kind of seems like a downer from the last year's 3200 milliamp battery. But the chipset, that is a Snapdragon 820, is smarter, and the display is still 1080p, and well, it kind of works in a tandem, that the battery life is still almost the same as what you would expect from the last year's OnePlus flagship, so that's still really appreciated. That's really nice to have. Now the killer feature on this phone regarding the battery life is the dash charging, which is, in my opinion, a very nice thing to have. Now here is the dash charger which comes with the phone. You can see the dash logo there. This claims to charge your phone for one full day, that's about 60%, in half an hour, and I tend to agree with that. Before making this video, my phone's percentage was about 45%. I plugged it in for about, I don't know, 20 minutes maybe. It was at 100%. That is real quick charging, and The thing that differs from how it differs from the Quick Charge 3.0 is that this provides a current of 4 amp at 5 volt even when you use the phone while charging. So it will not heat up, because all the conversion and all the magic is done on the charger rather than on the phone. So in the Quick Charge, when you start using the phone, the Quick Charge stuff which happens is disabled and it only charges normally. So that's something which I really appreciate. So this is really cool for me. As a phone, OnePlus 3 does really excel a lot. As you can see, my signal is there still. On my Z3, it kind of tends to lose the signal here at this exact position. So I would actually say that's a success that I still have signal there. So yeah, all in all, the OnePlus 3 is a smashing success that the 2 just couldn't achieve. I mean, it's really gone beyond and above what 2 was really worth. And it has really shown what the company can do with their ideas. Albeit the minor inconvenience that keep it away from being the perfect phone, like the lack of expandable storage and unavailability of the QHD panel and smaller battery rather than the other one. This one is a really fun to use. I mean, and for me, one of the main factors for buying a new phone is the presence of a buzzing dev community, and OnePlus dev community is pretty amazing. There are a bunch of custom ROMs available for this device, and it's been only 1 month, close to 1 month, being this device on the market. So that is really cool. Personally, I feel the OnePlus 3 is a phone which will amaze a lot of people just for its affordability and access to high-end features it provides to its customers. So that is amazing. So I guess that much is it about the review from me. These are my opinions and I really would like to hear yours too in the comment section below. Hope you guys liked the video. Please share, subscribe and like the video if you found it useful. See you guys next time. Bye.